I'm Ms. Matsuoka, and I'm going to teach you about how to solve equations, exponential equations, that are part of word problems. So we have these cooling problems here. So if you look up here, here's the word problem. It's a pretty long one. We're talking about brownies and they're being made fresh from the oven. So in order to eat them really soon, you put them by the window. By the window it's 66 degrees Fahrenheit. 5 minutes later the brownies are 190 degrees Fahrenheit. And then 8 minutes later the brownies are 175 degrees Fahrenheit. So this is just, the problem itself. So the first thing we're going to look at is making an appropriate equation. To make the equation, you're going to use these different temperatures here, and you're using this main equation. So the main equation we're going to use is y equals m times a to the x plus k. So y is just the y coordinate of the different points we're going to find. X is going to be the x coordinate. And k is kind of the limit. So it's the limit of how hot or cold something can get. For example, these brownies here, they're cooling down because this is what they are at the very beginning when we first get a temperature, and then they're going to be this temperature later. So the brownies are cooling down, and there's a limit to how cold they can get. The limit is the 66 degrees Fahrenheit. So we know that k here is going to be 66 degrees Fahrenheit. And now we need to find a couple points that we can plug in to x and y here. So we already have our temperatures. We're going to have our temperatures be the y coordinates, and then we're going to have the minutes, the time here, be the x coordinates. So at 5 minutes, it's 190 degrees. Let me get that. And then at 8 minutes, it's 175 degrees. So we're going to plug these numbers in for x and y. We're also going to plug in k. So we plug in everything into my equation, and it looks like this. So we get, we're going to plug in this point first. 190 is my y, 5 is my x, and then that's my k. So it goes 190 is equal to m times a to the 5th power plus 66. And I'm going to go ahead and make my other equation at this time also. So 175 is equal to m times a to the 8th power plus 66. From here, I really just need to get, this stuff by itself here. My goal is to really try to find what a is, but first I'm just going to subtract the 66 from both sides in order to get it as much by itself as possible. So I subtract from both sides, and I do it to both equations here. So here I'm going to get 124. That's going to give me m times a to the 5th here. Same type of thing here, I'm subtracting those. So I'm going to get that's going to be 9 is equal to m times a to the 8th. So right now we have these two equations. We want to somehow solve for this, but the problem is we have two variables. So we're going to do a little bit of substitution. So to do the substitution here, you need to somehow make one of them look like the other one so we can substitute the value in. We're going to work with the bigger exponent here. And we're going to break it up so that it looks like this times something else. That way we can substitute. So it's going to look like 109. So I'm still writing this part. M times, this is going to be a to the 5th now, because I'm kind of looking ahead to substitute in my 124 here. So now these are exactly the same, which is what I want. And now I'm going to put a to the 3rd. And I'm putting a to the 3rd because when you multiply those things that have exponents, you add the exponents together. So 5 plus 3 will give me to 8, so this is a good multiplication to have. Now I'm going to go ahead and make my substitution. So I have 109 equals, and that's going to be 124 times a to the third power. From here, I still need to find a. So at least now I only have one variable that I need to find. So I'm going to divide both sides by the 124 to get a by itself. So now I have a to the third power is equal to 109 over 124. I need to get rid of this 3 somehow. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to raise both sides to the 1/3 power. So if you remember, like in a couple earlier videos, I talked about how we have the 1/3 power is the same thing as like the cube root. So it's the same type of thing here. So 1/3 power here and the 1/3 power here. So we're going to actually need to put this into the calculator. And let me show you how to do that. So here's how you put it into the calculator. If you looked at what I had before, I had parentheses in there. So I'm going to put parentheses and then 109 divided by 124. And it's all to the 1/3 power. Now it's really important when you put it to the 1/3 power, you put parentheses around the 1/3. So put parentheses around the exponent, and that's going to give us our answer. So that looks like about 0.96. So that's what I'm going to round to. I'm just going to take 2 decimal places to make it 0.96. So I just showed you how to put that into the calculator, and we got about 0.96. So that's what I'm putting over here, 0.96. Now, from here, I need to find m still. So I'm going to plug this back into this equation right here, and that's how I'm going to find m. The thing is, you can plug it in either to this equation or to this one. I'm going to use this one just because it has a smaller exponent. I just think it's easier to work with. So I plug it in, it's going to look like 124 is equal to m times 0.96 to the 5th power. And from here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this stuff because I need to get m by itself here. So I'm going to need to divide both sides by this number here. So 0.96 to the 5th power. I'm doing that on both sides. And now I need to go ahead and put that into my calculator. So now we're going to put it into the calculator. We have 124. And we're dividing by the 0.96 to the 5th power. So 0.96 all to the 5th power. And as you can see, I don't really need parentheses, so I'm just going to push enter. And I get that it's about 152.08. So that's what I'm going to use for m. So we got 152.08 for m. So now that I have a and m, I'm going to plug this into this equation right here because that's what it's asking for. So I've done the majority of my work. Now all I'm going to do is plug in m, a, and k into my formula here. I'm going to leave x and y as they are, and that will be my equation. So it's going to look like y equals, m was this, 152.08. We have times a to the x power, so it's 0.96 to the x power, and then plus k. K was 66, so plus 66. So this right here is my answer for number 1. Okay, let's move on to number 2. So for number 2, and for number 3, I'm going to be using the same equation that I just found. So it's going to come into a lot of use here. So I'm going to write that down first. So that was 152.08 times 0.96 to the x power plus 66. So here it's giving me a time, right? It's giving me a time 25 minutes. Now when we think back to the points that we made, we said that x was the time and y was the temperature. So this is time, so it needs to go in for x because x was time. So I just plug that in. So y equals 152.08 times 0.96 to the 25th power plus 66. Because the y is by itself, all I need to do here is just plug this into my calculator and I'll have my answer.
So now we're going to plug it into the calculator. I have 152.08 and I'm multiplying that by the 0.96 to the 25th power, and then plus the 66. As you can see, I didn't need to put any parentheses in there, it's just as it is. And when we round, we get 120.81.
So I plugged it into the calculator and we got 120.81 degrees Fahrenheit. It is important for you to remember what you're talking about here. Remember, we just found a y value, and remember y was temperature. And we're measuring temperature here in degrees Fahrenheit. So I do want the whole thing labeled just like that. All right, let's move on to number 3. So number 3, we talk about brownies should be cooled to 130 degrees Fahrenheit so you don't burn your tongue. How long do you need to wait? So we're going to use the same equation that we that we got in number 1. So that's y equals 152.08 times 0.96 to the x power plus 66. Now we're given a temperature this time. Remember, temperature was the y value, so we're going to plug this in for y, and we're going to find x. So we have 130 is equal to 152.08 times 0.96 to the x power plus 66. So the first thing I really need to do is I'm going to get this 66 to the other side by subtracting. Subtract that on both sides. I'm going to get 64 here, and that's going to equal this stuff over here times 0.96 to the x power. The goal really, whenever you solve, you need to get the variable by itself. So I still need to get rid of this 152.08 somehow. So I'm going to do that by dividing. So I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by that. So divide by 52.08, 152.08. And so now I have this 0.96 to the x power. I'm just flipping it around here. And that's going to equal 64 over 152.08. Now the question is, how do you get an exponent out of a tree? You hit it with a log. So now we're going to take the log of both sides here. I'm kind of running out of room, so I'm going to write it up here. So I'm going to take the log of both sides. It's going to look like a log of 0.96 to the x power is equal to log of 64 over 152.08. And from here, we're going to expand this logarithm here on the left side so that this exponent will come down in front to multiply. So this is x times log of 0.96, and that's going to equal log of 64 over 152.08. Lastly, to get x by itself, these two are just multiplying, so I'm just going to divide on both sides. So I'm dividing by the log of 0.96 on both sides. And now, so let me just kind of quickly write that out. So it's going to look like log of 64 over 152.08, all being divided by the log of 0.9, oops, wrote that wrong, the log of 0.96. There we go. And that's what I'm going to stick into my calculator. So now I'm going to show you how to put this into the calculator. So we have log, which is right here, of 64 divided by 152.08. This is where I close my parentheses here, just like I have in my where it's written, and then divided it by log of 0.96. Close my parentheses again. And here you can see I don't really have anything special going on with the parentheses. It's just kind of exactly what I have written there anyway. Alright, so we press enter, and we get about 21.20. So we just looked at how you do it in the calculator. So we got that x was about 21.20. And remember, x is time. It's being measured in minutes all the time. So this is 21.20 minutes. Alright, so this was our whole problem. I will show you the bonus question in a little bit, but hopefully this helped a lot with logs. Here's your bonus question. Make sure to do all 3 parts and have the calculator handy. At any point in time, you can always go back through the video because it is a pretty long problem. Alright, good luck!